Hello students, welcome back to all. In this video, I am going to explain about the coordinate bond. So, what is a coordinate bond? Before to know what is a coordinate bond, we should know what is a covalent bond. So, generally all of you know, if suppose A and B are two elements or atoms, if atom A is donating one electron or sharing one electron, in the same way atom B is also sharing one electron. Now these two electrons or the electron pair of opposite spin is shared equally between the two atoms. Then it forms a bond. This is called covalent bond. Covalent bond means sharing of electron pair between the two atoms. So this is the covalent bond. Generally, covalent bond is formed between two atoms which are having unpaired electrons. So, but in some cases, a special type of covalent bond is formed, in which, for example, take the two atoms. In this case, this is a special case. In this case, the shared pair of electron only contributed by the one single atom. For suppose if an atom A is having two electron pairs, it is sharing the two electron pairs. But atom B is not sharing any electron pair. So this electron pair is shared between the two atoms, which means the shared pair of electron is contributed by only one atom. The atom which contributes this electron pair is called the donor, and the atom which is accepting that pair of electrons is called the acceptor, which means in this case both the atoms are involving in the bond formation, which means the both atoms are sharing equally the pair of electrons which is only donated by the atom A, but atom E is not donating any electrons because it is having a it is an acceptor. Is it okay? Which means it is electron deficient. This is electron rich space. So A is electron rich space, that is why it is sharing or donating one electron pair, but B is a electron deficiency, so that is why it is accepting this electron pair, and now the bond is formed between the two atoms. Such type of bond is called coordinate bond. Generally, the bond between two such atoms is called coordinate bond, or it is also called dative bond. Dative bond means coordinate bond. Generally, this coordinate bond is formed after the covalent bond only, which means in any two atoms or molecules, first the covalent bond will form, then after coordinate bond is formed. I will explain this with an example. Okay. So here such a bond results when a doubly filled orbital overlaps with an empty orbital of another atom. This is not the which means here the coordinate bond is somewhat different from the covalent bond, which means both the covalent bond and coordinate bond not same. After the formation of the covalent bond, in some special cases this coordinate bond or dative bond will form. Here this dative bond will also call donor acceptor bond. Why it is called donor acceptor bond? Because here in this case one atom is donating the electron pair, whereas the other atom is accepting that electron pair. So that is why it is called donor acceptor bond. So now let us see one example. So in the first example, take NH3 ammonia is reacting with the H plus ion, and finally we get NH4 plus ion, ammonium ion. Let us see how it is formed. Generally, if in case of ammonia, Nitrogen having 7 electrons. So 1s2, 2s2, 2p3. Which means it contains 5 electrons in the outermost shell. So here, this is the nitrogen atom. It contains 1 lone pair electron and 3 unpaired electrons, because 2p3 means in the p orbital it contains 3 unpaired electrons. So that is why these 3 are unpaired electron, and this is the lone pair electron. Is it okay? And now hydrogen atom means it contains only 1s1 electron. So that is why each I will draw, just wait. So each hydrogen atom is forming 3 covalent bonds with the nitrogen atom, like this. So here this is the 3 covalent bonds. These 3 covalent bonds are formed between the nitrogen atom and hydrogen atom in this case. Here one is lone pair. And now if suppose take the H+. H+ means what? Generally hydrogen contains only 1s1, which means it contains only 1 electron and 1 proton. But H+ means here it is losing that electron, which means it is simple proton. H+ means this is only ion, proton. So that is why this H+ having a deficiency of electron. So that is why it is accepting this electron lone pair and finally forms NH4+. So like this. This is hydrogen, NH3, and here like this NH4+ will form. If you observe here, these 3 are covalent bonds, but this is the coordinate bond, because here this electron pair is donated by the nitrogen atom. Here hydrogen is accepting. So like this NH4+ will form. Here the positive charge from hydrogen atom is shifted to the nitrogen, because here the nitrogen is donating this electron pair. So that is why it will shifted from hydrogen to nitrogen. So finally we get NH4+, like this. Generally this coordinate bond is represented with the arrow mark. So NH3 means here ammonium, and H+ means here electron deficiency. So finally we get NH4+. NH4+ means this is the coordinate bond. Here first these 3 covalent bonds are formed, then after coordinate bond or dative bond will form in case of NH3 and H+. This is the formation of NH4+ ion. And now let us see one more example. Take example 2. For example, in case of NH3 and BF3. So here the nitrogen atom contains 1 lone pair, we know that. In the same way BF3, boron trifluoride, boron also having 1 deficient, because boron is electron deficient molecule. So in between these two there exists a coordinate bond. So NH3 BF3, like this, because it is this lone pair is shifted here, because it is donating this lone pair to the boron. Boron is electron deficient, so that is why in between these two molecules there exists a coordinate bond. Let us see, nitrogen having 3 covalent bonds with the 3 hydrogen atoms, like this, and now it is containing 1 lone pair. If you see in case of boron contains, see, generally boron's electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p1, which means in the outermost shell it contains only 3 electrons. So these are the 3 unpaired electrons. So it is electron deficient atom, because to get the octet configuration it will require few electrons. So here the fluorine atom, we know that fluorine configuration is 1s2, because its atomic number is 9. So 1s2, 2s2, 2p5. So in the outermost shell it contains 7 electrons. to get the octet configuration, it is reacting with the fluorine boron like this. So BF3 will form like this, which means here 3 covalent bonds formed by the 3 fluorine atoms. So BF3 will form. But here in case of boron, it is an electron deficient atom because it contains 5 electrons. In the outermost shell, it contains only 3 electrons. So 2, 4, 6. Totally it gets 6 electrons. To get the octet configuration, here this lone pair is accepting, this boron is accepting this lone pair and nitrogen is donating that lone pair. So by sharing this lone pair by both atoms, we get NH3 BF3 like this. So like this, the coordinate bond or dative bond formed between the NH3 and BF3. Here in this case, the nitrogen will be getting octet configuration by 2, 4, 6, 8 electrons. In the same way, the boron also getting octet configuration by accepting this electron pair. So like this, the coordinate bond or dative bond is formed between the atoms which are having some electron deficient atoms or molecules, because in every case it is not possible. In some special cases only, because in case of NH3 and hydrogen plus. So here hydrogen plus is electron deficient. So that is why here it is accepting that lone pair. In that special case only this coordinate bond will form. In the same way here also the boron is having electron deficiency. So that is why it is accepting this lone pair. In this case also the coordinate bond will form. Let us see one more example. In case of CH3 ties nitrogen and oxygen is reacting with oxygen. So here also nitrogen having one lone pair. Here this is accepted by the oxygen and finally there exists a coordinate bond. So this is what the coordinate bond formation. It is called dative bond, also called dative bond. And in some other cases it is also called donor acceptor bond or coordinate bond. After the covalent bond only this coordinate bond will form. Now let us see what are the properties of this coordinate bond. So what are the general properties of the compounds which contains coordinate bond? Generally, the compounds which are containing coordinate bonds showing the melting points and the boiling points. So, generally these melting points and boiling points are always higher than that of the covalent bonds and lower than that of the ionic bonds, ionic compounds. Which means here the compounds which are containing the dative bond or coordinate bond which always lies between the ionic compounds and covalent compounds, which means the compounds which containing the coordinate bond, that compounds melting points and boiling points are always lies between the ionic compounds and covalent compounds. So this is the first property. And let us see what is the second property. And these compounds readily ionizable or soluble in organic solvents, which means all coordination compounds will soluble in organic solvents, but sprangly soluble in water. And third property, a coordinate bond acts as a single bond directed in a specific orientation, because here in the coordinate bond it is denoting with the arrow. In case of the covalent bond is denoted with this hyphen or this bond like this line. But this is the symbol which is used to mention whether it is the coordinate compound or not. So this is the direction, arrow mark. So that is why generally this coordination compound always shows the isomerism property. Most probably most of the coordination compounds will show this isomerism property. And the fourth point is that like the covalent compounds, these are also poor conductors of electricity. So these are the important properties regarding this coordinate covalent bonds. So this is what about the coordination bond or dative bond. So this is today's class. In the next video we will discuss some more points. Okay, if you interested or like my video, please share and subscribe my channel and forward to all of your friends. And if you have any doubt, you can ask through the comment section. Okay.